Hey Toon Tahn listeners, this is Rachael Kriger, one of the hosts of the show. I just want to say I know it's taken a while for us to get our next episode out, but please note that we started this project and didn't realize how busy our schedules were going to get, mainly mine. I work full time along with Kelley, but my job usually requires working a lot in the evenings and during the weekends, and finding times to record were just a little bit difficult. So we do have some recordings stockpiled up for a couple episodes, and we're just going to keep plugging away. Hopefully we will have a more consistent schedule of bi-weekly, but we will certainly communicate if there are any delays. So thank you, and we hope you enjoy this next episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Toon Tahn podcast. I am your host, Rachael Kriger. I am joining you all from beautiful outskirts of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It really is beautiful. It is like 80 degrees today, and it's supposed to be 80 all week. And then, of course, it's supposed to rain on Friday when I'm supposed to have a bonfire. But that's Western Pennsylvania weather for you. My lovely co-host is all the way down in Florida. Kelley Milavec, how are we doing today?
I am doing well, and just to one up you, it is 86 here. So
Oh!
I'm on the beautiful outskirts of Orlando.
Insert that GIF I always send you from regular show of Mordecai and Rigby going, oh! But for those who maybe, this is our second episode of the Toon Tahn podcast. So if anybody is like, why the heck is she saying the name so fast? And why is it spelled like that? It's because Kelley and I both hail from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We were both, well, she was born here. I was not, but we were both raised here. Went to college together at a school outskirts of Pittsburgh. And shout out to the non-existent Cal U.
Woo!
And so in Pittsburgh we have a language called Pittsburghese, and basically it's things like we say spigot instead of like faucet. I personally, like, Kelley and some of our other friends from college have attacked me for this, but I say buggy instead of shopping cart, and I truly believe that is the only acceptable way. What else do we say? Well, for the
incorrect.
name, for the name, we say, instead of saying like downtown, we say downtown, and so that's how we came up with the name of the podcast. I sent it to Kelley, and she was like, "I actually love that." So it was pretty straightforward from that point. But that's our podcast, and basically what we do here is we talk about animation, we talk about characters, we talk about all that fun stuff. And we talk about adult animation, we talk about like middle of the pack and like kid animation, all kinds of stuff. Like, we grew up watching shows from like Futurama to Danny Phantom to Avatar: The Last Airbender to SpongeBob SquarePants. And I just realized so many of those shows that I said are on Nickelodeon, but we've watched other things too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wait.
We watch regular show, we've been talking about the Total Drama series, so we're going to continue that today. If you missed our first episode, we did like a full breakdown of Total Drama Island, the very first season. And that's a good segue to get us into our topic of the next, the number 2 episode and the number 2 season. We are talking
Total drama action. Woo!
deep breaths for Total Drama. Like, listen, okay, like, just very generally speaking, like, okay, so Kelley is, to give a background, Kelley is a bit newer of a Total Drama fan. She got into it during like Total Drama Revenge of the Island. I got into it from the start of the season, and so we've all done our homework and we've caught up on pretty much. I think the only thing you need to watch is the Redonkulous Race.
I need to rewatch Pakatu and then fully start Redonkulous Race.
Yeah, that's a good idea, because there's like one Pakatu character in Redonkulous Race, even though, spoiler alert, it doesn't last very long.
It's Leonard, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so we all have our different tastes of seasons, but we both agreed that Total Drama Action isn't bad per se, but it's not the best season. It's kind of like one of those in the middle of the pack. Towards like the lower half of the middle of the pack. But yeah, it had its moments. It had some good moments, but we're here. We're gonna discuss going like pretty much episode by episode. There's 26 episodes, but we're gonna like kind of graze over a couple of them. But just like first and foremost, like what are your general thoughts of like total, like when you rewatch Total Drama Action for this podcast, like what were kind of just like your general thoughts?
I'm gonna keep it real with you, Chief. I didn't like Total Drama Action.
Fair.
So my main issue stems from, I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but the pacing felt really weird for this season compared to Total Drama Island.
Yeah, I can see that. Explain though. I'm curious.
Well, first of all, I don't know if I watched a really bad recording of it because I didn't use Netflix. I used like YouTube for to rewatch this. But like I feel like there were lines that were cut off mid-sentence. Like the editing was really weird. Like characters talked out of turn. I don't know if it was just that specific recording or what, but that was my experience watching it. Um, but it also includes like the egregious amount of non-elimination episodes because they cut the cast in half and it just dragged on for so long for me.
Yeah, I remember watching as a kid and first being like, why in the world did they cut this cast in half? Like, it is such a good cast. Like, I understand it, but at the same time, like, if you're gonna do that, at least like, I don't know, at least do more either with the aftermath episodes. Like, there's just, and we'll get to this later, but there's too many like people coming back, and that kind of filled in those spots. And it's like, instead of having people come back, like Courtney, like that's okay because, and we'll get into this. Courtney, that's okay because it's not like she came back for a second time. She just like, it was her first time. But like that kind of filled in spots where it could have been like, all right, so Izzy and Owen come back. Like that could have been spots for two other cast members. Like I would have put like Tyler in there and maybe even, I don't know, maybe even like Eva. Honestly, like I would have rather had Eva come back than like having eliminated contestants come back again and make it far at that. But again, we will get to that later. But I remember watching it as a kid and just being like, wow, there are so many episodes where there's like non-eliminations.
Mm-hmm.
And it just seemed like super, super stretched out to me. But there were some positives I remember. Like I remember being younger and like I thought the storyline between DJ and Chef Hatchet was really good. I like appreciated seeing a different side of Lashana, but then hated what they did to her. I loved Lindsay this season. And even though, yes, Beth is annoying, it was kind of nice to see like somebody else get a little bit more screen time instead of the same old, same old. And then I remember when I was younger, I was like obsessed with like, will Heather actually get Courtney's hair?
They did that for one episode and just dropped it entirely.
Yeah, she like cut off a piece of her hair and was like, what? I'm not crazy. I'm just bald. That's I will never forget that line. That was so good. But yeah, like going over episode by episode, let me actually pull them up. The first episode, so this is like coming off of the special that they had. We talked about that last episode, where Owen or Gwen won Total Drama Island, and they say, okay, give the money back to try to go for $1 million. And then Chris says, guess what? There's going to be another season. Evidently, there's only like a week in between seasons in real time because of like the whole storyline with Beth and her boyfriend. She says, oh, I met him at the dentist getting my braces off. And I think it was like Lashana or Gwen or somebody's like, well, wasn't that only just like 3 days in between seasons or something. So yeah, that it was very, very quick succession. But the first episode and the second episode go together. It is the like alien theme, monster theme. You get your teams. So I remember when they split up the teams, it was kind of like schoolyard style, and they would have Gwen and Trent pick out their teams. And I thought they were pretty even. What did you think?
I might disagree. I feel like Gwen's team was pretty stacked compared to Trent's.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
know.
like, definitely in regard to like people who made it the furthest. Yeah, I can agree with that. But like any team that has Izzy, I think makes up for that too.
I just feel like Gwen's team, I can't remember which one was Gwen's team.
Gwen's team was the gaffers, I think. I'm gonna
Okay.
look that up, but I'm pretty sure it was the gaffers.
Okay. I just feel like they won a lot more challenges than um Trent's team, the Grips, from
Yeah.
what I watched.
Well, it's funny you say that because I'm looking at it right now, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7, but if you're counting that episode where they're like doing the medical challenge, Lashana technically won it, but they were still on a team. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 if you count that solo Lashana win. Excuse me, and then the killer grips won 3.
Yeah,
So
that's what I thought.
yeah, definitely. Because I remember like Gwen's team, I think, went into the merge with more people. But so we've got the aliens.
Yeah, it was, I don't know. I like the concept for the challenges. Yeah.
I really did too. Like I thought the idea of doing the movie genre was fun. Like I remember the riot on set episode was really funny because Izzy kind of had her like her like crazy actress thing. The prison break one. I thought the medical one was pretty good too. Um there were a lot of really, really good ones. I think as the season started to go along, it got lesser, but did you have like a favorite or anything?
Um, I'm trying to think. I did like the acting, or when Izzy and Duncan had to go head to head with like their acting script and they got the wrong script, but Duncan still won.
Oh yeah, because he's like a bank robber and he's
Yeah,
like talking about someone dying or whatever.
I think it was a lost sheep.
Oh yeah, because I remember Izzy looked like she was like the little, I don't know, little shepherd girl, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, she was an old lady.
hmm
I like that one.
Um,
That one was funny.
I thought the one where they are, and I really, really have to remember which one this was. I think this was the disaster one, but I have to check. Oh yeah, it was the Master of Disasters. Man, that episode was so good when they are stuck in like those like vaults and the water keeps rising and stuff. Oh my gosh, that's so good. That like really just kicked it off for Harold for me.
Yeah, that's when Chris cared about the contestants still.
Yeah, he's like, oh, we got to get the kids out.
There won't be any more show.
That's what release forms are for.
Right.
Correctamundo. um, but Harold, oh my gosh, Harold, that episode was like that was easily like Harold's best episode. I mean, the beatboxing one from season 1 is iconic, but that episode, I mean, that was just amazing how he was able to put the straws together and and like use them as like a snorkel.
Yeah, I did like that. I think definitely Harold became like a great character in this season. That's one positive I'll give this season is Harold got a lot more screen time to develop his character, which I
Harold and
appreciated.
Harold and Lindsay, dude.
Yeah.
Like Lindsay was so good in season 2. I had seen a couple different conflicting things about how like she was supposed to be in the finale, but I guess something was going on with her voice actor that they kind of just like made it so, spoiler alert, we're getting there, people, but that she eliminated herself. But she like, I remember she cracked me up whenever her and Justin were fighting over the lock combination. Izzy was the one who was like getting, like, Izzy had her normal moment. She was getting mad in this episode, like about how everybody was being like an idiot.
Yeah, I did realize that. I don't know. I don't think you watched it yet, but that long hour-long theory of Izzy's not crazy, they brought that up where Izzy's facade started to fade away during that episode because she was actually acting normal.
Yeah, I haven't seen that episode yet, but I'm definitely planning on watching it. That's the episode too where like Owen's jaw breaks. Oh god, I hated that scene when I was younger. It just was so
Oof.
unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
But this episode has one of my favorite interactions between Owen and Chef when Owen goes, "Oh, I give it 5 stars on your cooking," and Chef's just like, "I hate suck ups." Because I think this is the episode after DJ got eliminated and the food started to get bad again.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I remember that.
Other episodes that I thought the horror movie episode was good. I like the challenge specifically where they had to the killer grips were in the craft services tent and it was up like the gaffers had to scare them out of it. I thought that was awesome.
I did like that, and it came from it gave Heather one single line to care about DJ because she asked him if he was all right, and I'm like, that's so out of character for Heather.
Heather and DJ have always had like some really weird like interactions. Like there was the episode in Island where DJ gets eliminated and it's because he got the crap scared out of him by Heather because she was shaving her legs. In season 2, she asks DJ if he's okay. Again, super out of character. And then in the third season, like those two are paired up again because DJ, spoiler alert, is the only one left on his team and her and Alejandro are like fighting over him. So like Heather and DJ have always had like weird interactions.
Yeah, I feel like DJ's the only one Heather tolerates.
And like I saw something the other day and I don't remember where. I think it was like in a like a Heather redemption arc video. I don't remember who did it, but I'll have to look it up for next time. But and I don't know if you ever noticed this, but in the very first episode of the first season, there is there's a scene where Heather gets off the boat and she's getting onto the island for the first time. And in her glasses, you see the reflection of 4 people. And it's Lindsay and Beth, who she has an alliance with in season 1 and everything. Gwen, who she has gone back and forth with so many times. At the end of Island, they kind of have that moment where they both laugh about Chris getting thrown into the water. They have a couple moments in World Tour and in a little bit in Action, a little bit in World Tour, a little bit in All Stars. And then the other person who is in the reflection of her glasses is DJ, who is the only other character that she has ever shown like concern towards or like has at least wanted to reach out and like start an alliance with or whatever. Because also Heather and Gwen had an alliance when it was the Final Four in Island. So that was always something I found interesting. And somebody pointed it out the other day, like why would DJ be in her glasses? And well, now we know why. He's like the only other. I don't know if the creators went that in deep with it, but that's just a little tidbit that I thought that was pretty interesting. What did I gotta ask you? The princess episode where Duncan and Justin are fighting over Courtney. Please give me your thoughts on this episode.
So yeah, that was a weird one. Justin out of nowhere starting like that crush on Courtney was just so out of left field. Not to say it wasn't funny, But I knew Beth and Lindsay would get eliminated early in that challenge.
Yeah, yeah.
But there was also a very off-color joke from Duncan in that episode that I won't repeat. But when I watched it and I heard that, I was like, oh, you can't say that.
Total Drama lets a few of them pass every once in a while. I remember, like, wasn't it Harold was in the confessional or something, and he's like listening to the soundtrack of Courtney's song, and there's like a letter that comes in, and LaShawn is like, Harold, if you're listening to this and you're thinking of me, like, I'm gonna beat you up or something.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, he did say that. It was really funny.
Oh, here it is. I just found it. Yo, Harold, if you play that skinny rich girl song and think about me, I'll have to kill you. Oh, that's great. That's great. Justin had a few good lines in this episode too. This is the episode that he got eliminated. But one of my favorite all-time Justin lines is this one. Falling for Courtney has been hard on the face. I think we'll have a no shoes policy once we're dating. It's so stupid, but I love it.
Yeah, at least Justin did something this season. I'm not saying it was great, but it was something.
Yeah. I appreciated that, like, obviously he literally spoke once in season 1. He spoke one time. And now he's like actually doing something. I will give it, the face paint in the episode, in the big sleep episode, was amazing. But like, yeah, he actually, I don't think it ever made sense for him to be like a villain though. And like when Courtney came in, she kind of like took that role away from him. I appreciate like how they made Justin into what he is, a guy who thinks he can schmooze his way and talk his way into getting Beth and Lindsay to do whatever he wants, but then it kind of like just stops, like, and then Courtney comes in and Justin's arc kind of like goes away.
I feel like it already went downhill right after Gwen got eliminated. Like they had nothing else for him to do.
Yeah, that's a good shout. That's a good shout. Yeah, I agree with that.
Because then he was all about, well, I can't woo the girls anymore.
Right. Like, oh well, there's my only card to play, and now it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite episodes is actually after that one, and it's the Get a Clue episode, the murder mystery one. That one is so good. It's one of my all-time favorite episodes, and it's really where Lindsay shines, and it's, yeah, I just love it. It's so good. What did you like about that one?
That one, so I did like the concept. The first half was really odd when they were trying to get hair and fingerprints from everybody. That just seemed really oddly paced for me.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I feel like that's Courtney's worst episode. She was the most annoying in that episode.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
I don't want to offend any Courtney stans here, but I feel like Courtney's at her worst in action. I know
no,
that's a bold
go
statement.
ahead, please.
I
You
know
know
that's
how
a
I feel
bold
about
statement.
Courtney.
Yes.
Courtney started to go downhill in action for me, for sure. Like, she had a couple decent moments, but the whole, number one, the PDA thing and the lawsuit were just so stupid. Like, I get how the lawsuit got written in, like, that makes sense. She even yells it at the end of Total Drama Island, and in the episode where they go to Play a Day Losers, and in the special episode she keeps mentioning lawyers and lawsuits, and fine, okay, whatever, I can get past that, but the PDA thing was so stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody's like, oh, Courtney was so bad in All Stars. I'm like, no, she was worse in action, and I'll die on that hill. There was one
I think
episode in All Stars where she just tanked, but
I think in action she's the most annoying she's been.
mm-hmm.
I think in World Tour and All Stars combined, she's just pretty, like,
I don't know. She's just kind of a jerk. Like,
Yeah.
she's annoying in season 2, but she's not really a jerk. She's just like, oh my gosh, where's my prize? Where's my prize? Where's my prize? Like, that drove me crazy. But in season 3 and in season 5, she's just like, she's vile, and she's just kind of a jerk. Like, Chris even points that out in All Stars whenever she like uses Sam as a human shield. Like, she's not as annoying. She doesn't complain as much, but she's annoying in the sense of she just turned into someone who, yeah, she's always been bossy and she's always been a leader, but like now she's just like downright mean to everyone.
Yeah, I get. Yeah. Well, see, here's my thing. I would rather she be mean than annoying, which is probably why I hated her more in action.
I'm fine with it too. I hate that she made Gwen go through all those loopholes, but that's another story for another day. That's also a huge continuity error between World Tour and All Stars.
We'll get there. Don't you worry.
Trust me, I'll be yelling. 30% or 50% of our All Stars podcast is going to be you praising it, and then the other 50% is me going to say everything that's wrong with it.
I'm allowed to like trash, all right?
Especially if it's total drama trash. The best kind of trash.
Yes.
So following the Get and Clue one, the rock and roll episode. This episode was pretty fun. I enjoyed it.
Oh yeah. And they were like, no one, Chris was like, no one said you had to avoid the paparazzi. And they just all assumed they had to avoid it except for Lindsay.
Lindsay was the trash the hotel room was awesome. That was really cool. This is the
yeah.
We'll get to the ending in a minute. A bit. But Owen's back. He tries to start up a lot of stupid, weird trouble. We're gonna get into what we would change about the show later, but like I know this is something we both put on our list, so I think we should talk about it now.
Okay.
So the floor is yours.
Are we talking about things we want changed?
No, like just the fact that Owen and Izzy came back, because like Izzy, at least she came back and she was pretty much gone, but still the point remains the same.
But I think of the scene from SpongeBob and the writers just going, I loved bringing back Izzy so much in the first season, I'm gonna do it a second time.
And I get it, like Izzy is a fun character. She's a little wild. Sometimes she's a little too much with the nicknames, but that's part of who Izzy is. Like I can forgive that. She's Izzy.
Here's a novel concept. Just keep her on the show and don't eliminate her.
Right, exactly. Like I promise you could just have her go decently far. But Owen coming back.
That was annoying. That was extremely annoying. And he wasn't even competing. He was just there to cause trouble. And I didn't like it.
Yeah,
and he's not that type of person.
Right, out of all the people to use, it just seemed...
Yeah, let's use the most non-antagonistic character ever.
It just seemed to me like, and I said this before we hit the record button, but those two spots could have been used for someone from the original cast to come back. Yeah. And it seemed like a waste to me.
Yeah. Yeah, instead of bringing two characters back, like, yeah, they brought in Courtney, who wasn't originally in it, but instead of bringing back two other characters who weren't in it, let's bring back two characters that were eliminated. One you've already brought back in the first season, and the second one already won the show. So like it was a bad decision.
Yeah, it just, like you said, it doesn't make sense to make the most likable, and like he even says like, oh yeah, like I'm friends with Lindsay, and I'm friends with Beth, and I'm friends with X, Y, and Z, I'm friends with Harold. I'm not really Duncan's my friend, and then he's just like, oh well, Courtney's okay, I guess. So he literally is friends, because at this point there's Beth, Courtney, Lindsay, Harold, Duncan, and Owen. So he's literally friends with everyone but Courtney, and it's like, you're bringing him back to stir up trouble. You want to do that with somebody, bring back like Gwen or Heather.
Yeah. Bring back someone who will actually cause trouble.
Yeah, it's I don't know, it's just so dumb.
And then Chris got rid of him just like a couple episodes after that. I was like, what was the point of bringing
Well, he made it to the final 3.
him back?
He comes back and
Yeah.
he makes it to the final 3. Like, and one thing that I don't like I appreciated the fact that they, granted it was a much, much, much smaller cast, but Heather got voted out in like the middle of the pack. In All Stars, she got voted out a little bit early. Like, this idea of bringing back people who were finalists, like Mike and Zoe worked perfectly for All Stars for the finale, because Mike was like directly in the middle of the pack. Zoe made it decently far, but she didn't really have much of a storyline in season 4 by herself. Like, I appreciate that, but like, and Gwen got kicked off super early, but bringing like the same characters back that make it so far and just having them make these deep runs. I mean, think about it. Duncan made a deep run in every season that he was in. Granted, he wasn't that far. He wasn't in as many episodes on World Tour, but like Owen goes far in all 3 seasons that he's in, and it's like, change it up a little bit.
Please, I'm begging you. There are other characters.
Ugh. There are indeed, and we learned that with this season finale, but we're working our way there. This is the episode where Lindsay votes herself off.
Mm.
And I think we all just need to pour one out for Lindsay, because pour one out for Lindsay, because she was so good this season. Duncan's in the final 2 for like the 3rd week in a row. Lindsay's in the final 2 for like the first time in forever. And she votes herself out. Like, it's so sad. And like, okay, I can, if they're actually, if something happened with the voice actor, like, you gotta appreciate that she's taken a step back, and the writers respect that and everything. But oh man, it just broke my heart that Lindsay got voted off the way she did. Like, because she had such a strong season.
Yeah, she definitely proved like she could stand on her own without having Heather to lean on.
Yeah, and then just like, and like, I understand too, like, if the voice actor needs to step away, but what a lame way for Lindsay to get voted off.
Yeah, I feel like if we're gonna talk about things I want to change, Lindsay should have been in the final.
Yeah, I'm with you there. The final really, like, if it would have been Lindsay and Duncan, or Lindsay and Harold, I would have been more than okay with that.
Yeah, listen, I love Duncan, but like Harold deserved to be there more.
Yeah, it in a perfect world, my finale is either Duncan and Harold, if like, Lindsay's voice actor can't continue. But if Lindsay's voice actor can continue, then definitely Harold and Lindsay.
Yeah, that would have been a much more interesting, because like, not to be rude, who cares about Beth?
Yeah, I think we can just skip to the finale at this point, because the last couple episodes are just meh. So it starts with mutiny on the sound stage, when the 2 of them are kind of doing this pirate themed episode, and pretty much Duncan has the lead like the whole way. Beth kind of catches up, and I think she helps him like get closer to the finish line, and he says like, if your retainer wasn't so gross, I would kiss you right now. or something to that point. Oh yeah, they had to go through the disaster challenge again, and Duncan got stuck like in the hole. So Beth saves him, and they race toward the finish line. Well, they tie.
Yeah, they had to answer trivia questions that Chef was giving them.
Oh yeah.
And the one question I really liked was, what color is Courtney thinking about right now? And he goes, blue. And she's like, burnt sienna.
The most Courtney answer of
Yeah.
all freaking time, dude. Like that is burnt sienna. God, I thought when she said that the first time it was bird sienna.
Yes, my favorite bird.
Of course. The finale, they basically like do a bunch of stuff that the contestants all come up with like different ways for them to break the tie and everything, and then of course it comes down to a vote. I don't remember who wins in the US and who wins in Canada. Do you know?
That's a good question.
I feel like I remember Duncan winning.
Yeah. If we're being honest, I would prefer Duncan win, but if we're going based on like continuity, I feel like Beth's win is canon. Just based on the fact that it was the in-between episode for Action and World Tour where Beth and Lindsay were thrown in jail and they had to bail themselves out with Beth's money, I think, if I'm remembering correctly.
Oh, yeah. In the Celebrity Manhunt episode,
Yeah.
Yep.
Plus, Duncan wouldn't have a reason to come back to World Tour or All Stars if he had won.
Right. Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense because of the bailout money. And both ending, I will say though, both endings are pretty good and they both like make sense. Like I remember we talked about last time, like Owen's win and his episode definitely made way more sense than Gwen winning. But I thought both endings, Duncan's ending was really good. How I'll never forget when Courtney says to him like, "Oh, like we're splitting the prize money and everything," and Duncan goes like, "Oh, what do you mean?" And she goes, "Every king needs a queen," and they get together. That was one of my only favorite Courtney moments. Beth still gets to get like hugs Brody, or Brady or whatever his name, Brady. I think it's Brady. And then in Beth's ending, it still makes sense because she celebrates her win with Brady. Like it's fine. And in the ending, Duncan and Courtney still reunite and get together no matter what. So I think both endings make sense. But yeah, I think Beth's is definitely more canon.
I feel like that finale is the most forgettable of all finales.
Oh, 100%. I completely agree.
Because they tie in their like supposed finale episode and then they just do one more aftermath. Like that's so lame.
As much as I love the aftermaths and how they included them this season, yeah, I mean that episode, like it should have been a season, wrap up or whatever. Like it wasn't really necessary because, like I said, they basically spent like the whole of the episode. Oh gosh, they basically spent it like other contestants like figuring out, like they all had to morph into those shapes. Those like big like boards that Harold put up, and they all had to like contortion their body to fit through the shapes and everything. And then Chris ends up coming and he's like, I'm hosting this if there's no winner. So it just, yeah, it doesn't really make sense at all.
Yeah, that just seemed really thrown together. So your opinion, you like the aftermaths, right?
I did. I liked them a lot better in season 3, but I did like the inclusion. I remember thinking as a kid, like, oh, these are really fun. This is a nice way to kind of like break it all up. And I thought that like that's gonna leave a mark was funny. I thought Jeff was kind of annoying in the first in season 2 with the aftermath. He got a lot better in season 3 with them, but yeah, I think the aftermaths were pretty fun. They had some fun moments with them.
Yeah, I agree. I think World Tour did Aftermath better. I like the concept. I think getting further into the season, I was just like, please just finish this season. Like I was so tired when there was like a Aftermath or a non-elimination episode. I was like, please just finish this. It just dragged on, especially like towards the later half.
Yeah, I agree. Like I think when Courtney came back, it started to drag a little bit. So we talked about the episode review. We talked a little bit about the finale there. Who were your best characters this season and who were your worst characters?
So I feel like Harold and Lindsay were definitely the best characters because they definitely got a lot more development and they held their own and they made it fairly far, both of them. Um, Worst characters, I feel like they derailed a lot of characters and it made me not like them as much. Um, Definitely Courtney this season, she was just unbearable to me personally. I did not like what they did with Lashana. They made her so unlikable. Um, who else did they derail? They derailed a lot. Trent. Oh my God,
Oh,
that
we
was
gotta
painful to
talk
watch.
about that. Your girl has some things to say about that.
That was painful. Like I don't know what happened there, but that was probably the most painful. Um, yeah, I'm probably gonna go with those characters. They were just so unfun. Jeff for a little bit because he started to turn into Chris, but then he
Yeah.
realized like, oh yeah, that's dumb.
Like, yeah, I'm being a jerk. I'm done.
Hmm.
Oh, I'm so glad you mentioned Trent. This is gonna be I loved Trent in Total Drama Island. Like I remember being like I don't remember what we said last time, 6th or 7th grade maybe, watching it for the first time, and I adored Trent. I thought he was such a fun character. I loved the stereotype of him being the music guy. It fits so well. I loved his romance with Gwen. I loved everything about Trent in season 1, except for the fact where there was like a stretch of episodes where he just kept getting hurt.
Right.
Like that's about it. So he came back in Total Drama Action, and like him and Gwen left off in such a good place that I was like, oh, like these two are so solid. Well then they get to action. And okay, yeah, they have to pick their own teams. And this is like, listen, we need to have an episode based solely on like the love triangle between, well, more like triangles between Gwen and Trent and Courtney and Duncan and all that crap.
Mhm.
We need a full episode dedicated because there's just so much to say.
Yeah.
But this is where it really started. Like, yeah, Gwen and Duncan had their moments in season 1. It wasn't anything really crazy because Duncan was just so head over heels for Courtney and Gwen was so head over heels for Trent and vice versa. But in season 2, like, okay, so they get to pick their own team. She picks Duncan first. That sets off a whole thing of basically distrust and everything. Trent goes, well, I'm gonna pick the beautiful Lindsay. Like it was just, I was like, these two are better than this. And then of course the number 9 thing. The number 9 thing was so dumb.
It was so unnecessary.
It was so unnecessary and so dumb. And it literally, like, I was like, oh my gosh, Trent is crazier than Izzy at this point.
Hmm.
And like, they tried to, resurrect it with like, oh, here's why I do the number 9 thing. And like, even the excuse was just really stupid.
Yeah, that was out of left field. I'm like that. This was never brought up ever in Islands. You just threw this in here.
Yeah, it just made no sense. Like, okay, I can understand if you want to like slowly bring it up, but Trent was like the 4th person eliminated.
Hmm.
Like it just doesn't work. It's too quick, it's too chunky. And so there's the number 9 thing, and I just remember though, like I have to laugh every time Owen says, like, it's during like when they're surfing and everything, and he goes like, you're like really weird, and Trent goes, but Gwen likes weird. It's like, okay, Trent, like relax a little bit. But the breakup scene, I honestly, like, I thought the breakup scene was handled pretty well. Like, Gwen basically says, you know, you can't keep throwing challenges for me. You're acting a little bit crazy. It's not like, it's not you, it's me. I thought the breakup scene was handled well, and they like still part as, you know, friends and stuff. It's not like anything is like really bad. But then Trent gets voted off. And all that. Yeah.
They're
I
like,
don't know
oh,
why.
let's make Justin an antagonist.
Yeah, let's have Justin be the mean one. So Trent gets voted off. Next up is Gwen because she feels bad about it. But I really liked how they like split up the aftermath to be you know, have like Trent have his moment, and he has his little song about his breakup with Gwen, and he explains the number 9 thing and all this stuff, and then, you know, Gwen gets her chance on the aftermath a little bit later. So I always appreciated that. But it just, the downfall of Trent, I really, first off, I wanted him to be in action because, or also, she's a man in World Tour, because the guy sings. He is a literal musician, and you don't have him in the singing season. Like, what? I don't care that he wasn't in All Stars. Like, he should have been in World Tour, and that's the hill that I will die on. But like, I just, he needed redemption after that season, and he never got it, and it always made me sad. Like, I will say, in the Celebrity Manhunt episode, like, he's kind of back to his old self. And we'll talk about that episode in a minute, but he's in that band, he's in the Drama Brothers band with Justin and Harold and Cody, and like, he's getting girls, and he even tells Justin at one point, like, oh, by the way, break up with my girlfriend too. But like, he's kind of back to his old self. And then in the couple times, I thought it was really nice, like in Total Drama World Tour, there was the aftermath after Gwen got voted off, and they're sitting next to each other, and they kind of have a little laugh and everything, and it's just like a really sweet moment. But yeah, the downfall of Trent was just so bad. But let's move on, because it's a work day and it's Tuesday. What was your best overall moment of the season?
I'm trying to think. I did like when Harold stood up to Duncan that one time, like he was tired of Duncan picking on him. Also, real quick side tangent. When did Duncan find out that Harold sabotaged Courtney leaving Island? Was that ever a discussion?
I would assume when he went to Play a Day Losers, because he was the 4th voted out.
Okay, because Duncan brought that up and was like, yeah, I'm picking on him because he got Courtney voted out. I'm like, that was never brought up, but okay. I did like that. I'm trying to think. I have to remember some of these episodes. There's just a lot. Definitely nothing in the finale was worth remembering. I do like when Lindsay took over that one episode when she was Admiral Lindsay, her hotness.
Admiral
really
Lindsay, her hotness. I salute you.
Right. There was one joke I really liked. It was when they were in the go-karts and they kept driving past like screens thinking they were real. Like one was in outer space, one was a cliff, and then one ended up being real. They almost ran into an old man.
I don't know why I can't remember that off the top of my head. I'll have to rewatch that.
I think it was the episode right after Courtney got in.
Yeah, I'll have
they had to build a go-kart and they were racing.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yep, I remember that. I think my best moment of the season was still that episode where they're in like the vaults and the water rises. That was just such a fun episode. Like, oh man, that was so good. One of my also favorite moments of the season, which we really didn't talk about, was DJ standing up to Chef. And just being like, no, you can't help me cheat anymore. Like, my mama raised me better than that. I thought this was one of DJ's best seasons. Yeah, I thought that moment was really nice. But
Yeah, I did like that.
it's time to give the grades.
Okay.
It's time to grade total drama action. So, as always, we have our funny grade, our character grade, our challenge grade, and our writing grade. Go ahead and tell us your grades, and then we'll get into what your overall grade is.
Okay. I don't want to be like
if
super
I
negative
have
here.
to. If I
don't
have
wanna
to.
Yes. Funny grade. Honestly, I'm giving it a C. It definitely wasn't as funny as Island was. There were maybe like 2 or 3 jokes I actually laughed out loud at. Um, and I didn't. There were just some things that, again, with the gross out humor, they did that too much too. Like what was it? I think it was like like a laxative smoothie that they kept trying to give to Owen after his mouth was not
Yeah.
not functioning, and Lashana kept taking it for some odd reason. um yeah, I'm gonna give that one a C. I didn't find action as funny as Island.
Your character grade.
That's also getting a C because they derailed so many characters. I would give it a D, but their redemption is Lindsay and Harold because they actually gave them a lot more to do. Um, challenge grade. I'm giving this one a B plus because I did like the concept for a lot of them, but there were a few that seemed very weirdly paced, and also not all of them were elimination challenges, so they kind of got bogged down by that fact. Writing grade, like C minus. They wrote so many terrible things into action, but their characters, some of the pacing was off. Uh, some of the lines weren't delivered correctly. I'm giving that C minus. Overall, I'm giving it a solid C. I did not like action.
I think the funny grade, I feel like there were a lot of good one-liners, but like for the most part, it wasn't like super, super funny. I'm gonna give the funny grade a C. Character grade, I want to say B minus because yeah, I agree with you on the derailment of a lot of characters, but I also appreciated like we got more out of Justin. We got the best that we've ever gotten out of Lindsay and Harold. So I think that kind of raises the stock for me. I thought Duncan was really good this season. I don't think he was as good as he was in Island. I don't think he'll ever be as good as he was in Island. But there were a lot of characters that had some really, really good moments. So I will give that a B minus. Challenge grade, honestly, like I'm gonna give it an A minus. I think the challenges were a lot of fun. I really liked the different movie genres. I thought all the movie genres were pretty good. I don't think there was one that was like ever like, oh wow, it feels like they already did that. Like they had pretty much everything. And I liked how they were all kind of like at one point they were all pretty like aligned to each other, like prison and horror and disaster and war kind of go a little bit together. But I thought they were all really, really solid, the challenges. So I'm going to give that an A minus. The writing grade, yeah, I think I'm going to give this a C. This one was a rough season. And like, I think they were I think this is the first time they were just like experimenting, like how to write with a shortened cast. I think they were experimenting with like how do we build these characters because they had such a hard time building them before. But yeah, I think for the most part it was just an okay season. I'm gonna give the season as a whole a B minus. I think that challenge grade kind of brings it up. I really enjoyed I enjoyed the inclusion of the aftermaths. I enjoyed the challenges a lot. There were certain characters that stood out to me. So there were definitely some positives, but yeah, the derailment of certain characters really, really upset me. But I also appreciate that they brought some of those characters back and gave them some more with Total Drama World Tour and Total Drama Action. And then Jeff like in the redonkulous race for sure. But that'll do it for us. So we're gonna move on to our final thoughts on that. But before we do that, first a shout out to Butopia on Tumblr. She made our original character designs in the Total Drama art form, so check out her page on Tumblr if you want your custom character design. She's very cost effective. Like, it wasn't expensive at all. The quality was really good. She took our feedback and pretty much got us fixed copies pretty much immediately. So shout out to Butopia for doing that for us. It looks great. Kelley, what are your final thoughts on that?
I'm looking forward to talking about the next season. That's all I have to say about that.
I specifically saved talking about the Celebrity Manhunt episode #1 for time, because we are recording on a Tuesday afternoon, but also because since that is where we get Alejandro and Sierra, it just makes sense to talk about them with World Tour. Why don't you tell the lovely people where you're at on Tumblr?
I am at miraculous-hearts on Tumblr. I've been there for 10 years and I refuse to leave that blog. So if you like funny things and memes, give me a follow. Also, I rant about my current hyperfixations there.
I can attest to that, yes. If you like sports, follow me on Twitter, which is now X, whatever, for all my Mexican soccer hot takes and US national team hot takes. I'm at Rachael Kriger. There are 2 A's in my name, not just one. Check out my other podcast if you're a sports lover, Last Word Soccer Club Radio, that I do with my soccer friends. We're supposed to record next week, so hopefully we'll get some good stuff on there for y'all. And then on Tumblr, I had to delete my account a couple years ago because I got hacked, so my following is not as impressive as Kelley's. But if you want to help me in my efforts to build that back, it is the soccer enthusiast. I don't know why I keep saying the soccer enthusiast on Tumblr. That'll do for us. We are talking Total Drama World Tour next season, where I get to yell about how much I love Alejandro. And yes, we will be discussing.
Don't you worry, you're gonna hear from me in Revenge and All Stars. Don't you worry.
I'm just gonna hand Kelley the reins for that one. But that's it for us on Toon Tahn. Again, if you ever have a suggested cartoon for us to watch, you want us to talk about something, please let us know. We are always open to new ideas. See you next time. We'll see you for your next visit to Toon Tahn.
Bye-bye.